Shanti, good evening. Hi, welcome to another friendly edition of Friday with Friends. Today's friend, a new friend, Joy Tapias. Welcome, Joy.
Thank you, Greg, so much for having me here today. Very, very excited, very happy.
Well, I'm so glad about this. It's nice to find new friends, and it's a whole new way of meeting these days, isn't it?
Very interesting. Yes, it is how we've become even much closer, but in a different way virtually. Virtually has brought us
Abs-
to be more close and made the world more smaller.
and this is the perfect segue into the title of today's session is The Jewels of the Quarantine. Like normally when you think of imposed solitude or imposed quarantine, it doesn't feel good. It feels like something's being taken away. And today's is about the jewels of the quarantine based upon what I've heard about your own personal experience. So give us a little bit of history. We all know what the quarantine is like, where it may be where you were at that time and how the quarantine became a moment of jewel for you.
Yes. So at the time when COVID started, I was in Chicago, living in Chicago. And so, as you know, the northern cities got pretty shut down. I mean, it was pretty strict over there. I mean, the only thing you had open was the hospitals and CVS and the grocery store. And at that point of my life, I was, walking my spiritual path, finding ways of connecting with who I am, learning meditation. I had dabbled here and there in all styles of meditation. Nothing really stuck with me. And then COVID happened, and it was a very scary time. It was very scary. I was worried. There was a lot of uncertainties. I was home. I got furloughed from work. I didn't know when I was going to go back to work. And then I just remember sitting in my room and going within and asking, what am I supposed to do during this time? With this time that I have all these months, I'm going to be home. And the first thing that came to my head was learn how to meditate. And then I remember maybe 5, 6 years ago, I was introduced to the BK style of meditation through, at that time I was becoming a yoga instructor. And so in there, they were like kind of introducing us to different styles of meditations. And one of them brought the Brahma Kumari style of meditation. And it always struck with me of how different it was. And so I remember them mentioning, oh, we have one in Naperville, Illinois. And so I kind of Googled them and found the center in Chicago. And I reached out to Sister Mary. And it happens to be that they were literally starting a course in 2 weeks, the introduction of the introductory course that you guys offer. And I took the course, and my life has never been the same. I was, in meditation. I took all the 3 courses. I went into Murley while I was in, lockdown at home. I couldn't really go out just to the grocery store, and I was by myself and just on Zoom connecting with the Chicago Center, learning how to meditate, attending the Murley morning classes. So I was able to jump from my studies. What takes people time. I think I did it within 6 months. I was understanding everything.
Because you had the time that it took to do, like we all went through the same thing, and I see that many people were suffering so much because they were handicapped from their normal activities. Had you previously been someone who enjoyed silence or solitude?
No, no. And a lot of us, before we start this, our studies were, it's very hard for me. I didn't like silence. I don't like to be with my thoughts. I didn't enjoy being by myself. I always wanted to be around the action, moving, to quiet the mind, as I would say, but that's not true. The mind was still going in the background. It was never quiet. So going into solitude during COVID and studying, and then going into deepening my meditation studies, was very challenging. I'm not gonna lie, it was very challenging. I did not like the quarantine, and I just kept questioning it. And I'm like, why is this happening? Why am I here? Why has life forced me to just take a pause? Like, what is the meaning of this? So and it was a year. I was like in a year in a pause, my life froze, and the whole year was just dedicated to my studies.
These questions that you were asking are very much the foundation of the whole meditative process of finding, number one, who am I? Why am I here?
Uh-huh.
And the answers that you found didn't bring you more anxiety. The answers that you found brought you answers.
It brought me incredible answers. I would have never imagined the answers that it brought me and how I see my world now. And just, I'm no longer bound by physical things. I'm like an endless being. And it was very scary to dive into that studies and come to your power. As I say, I stepped into my true power of who I really am. And it was scary, but the solitude was still hard, and I struggled with it. And there was moments that I was like, why is this solitude happening? When is it going to go away? And now that I look back, it's been almost a year and a half since this whole journey started. I'm like, okay, I get it. Now I understand why. Learning silence is being surrounded in a circus. You could be in a circus or in Disney World, and learning how to silence. That was the nugget that I got out of my quarantine. And then of course, who am I? And then
Well,
stepping into my true power.
it's that whole thing you mentioned the word that I was going to go into, but you led me there yourself, is that the solitude led to silence. So when I'm listening to it, at first, the solitude brings questions, and kind of a discomfort. There's a discomfort with the solitude because there's so many thoughts that we have that are unanswered. And you could see for so many people, it turned out into misbehaving around all of our friends around the world. You could see that behaving in many different ways and that aren't helpful, and they normally wouldn't behave like that. But the imposed silence happened. So you got through that. And what I was thinking is that if you're lucky or if you're fortunate, the solitude leads to silence. And in that silence, you begin to discover and see. And I like what you said, you came into your own power. Is that kind of how it went for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was so empowered by going in silence. And it took me to deal with things that I didn't want to deal with. Thoughts that were, we all have the recurring tape playing, that the song in the back of our head, there's always a song playing, and that song's always going to be there. But being able to silence the song, like, okay, the song is playing too loud, let me silence. But it is uncomfortable. I'm not, yes, like I could say right now I'm in a better place, but it was a very uncomfortable time too, because like you said, growth is uncomfortable. It's you can either say, nope, I don't want to grow anymore, I'm going to stop this process. But I trusted, and I came out the other side even better than I would have ever imagined. And I learned to meditate, and then I came here to the Brahma Kumaris, which here I am.
Yeah. And here you are.
And there's no going back for me.
There's no going. That's so true. We all feel that way, that once you know, and you don't want to, no matter what it was. And this is in a big way, but I see it all throughout our society in many small ways, that even, say, in the job market, that some parts of the business world don't have enough employees because the people who had those jobs have realized that they don't need that anymore. They were in a cycle of being in that way, and they kind of found a better self. They found their own better self, and they're choosing to do something else now because they don't feel they have to, and they're not trapped in a cycle. It's really the same thing that you're saying, except you broke out of the cycle of your own head, of your own identity. And that's really very, very powerful. And you said it a couple of times, the silence leads you to power. Because number one, you're able to discern. That's what I initially see in it, is that in the silence, in the stillness, I have a chance to make a response rather than a reaction. And I like that symbol that we use in Brahma Kumaris to discern is a swan, and it's able to choose a jewel out of stones.
Yes.
That's a very royal way. And so instead of being very unhappy and griping and wondering, my job, my career, my life, my identity, you found a new way, and that's the jewel.
Yes. And it's funny when you say about the job market, it gave me perspective on what I wanted to do. And it was like, I don't need to go back to the old way. It's a new way of thinking. Solitude also teaches you a new way of thinking. If you really, really practice solitude, like the way I did. I mean, I was alone for a couple of months in the apartment. It was nobody, just myself.
You would never do that if you didn't have to.
Oh,
So look at the fortune of really. I was talking with a client of mine today, and she said the same thing, that how beneficial the whole pandemic was for her, that made her stop feeling sorry for herself, everything, because the silence, it gave her time to listen, just to listen to herself, and then to weed out the thoughts that she no longer needed, that were kind of weighing her down. So it really is a beneficial thing.
it is. And for me, the jewel that I got out of it, the jewels that I got out of it, I came to the Brahma Kumaris and I was taught like the 8 powers, our virtues, who we are. And I don't think old Joy before COVID would have had time to, my intellect would have never really, I mean, I would have like listened, but I would have never, but the silence was a blessing. The silence was like a blessing. Like, as we say, the drama was blessing me at that moment. No, we're going to give you a hard stop, and you're going to you're going to learn this beautiful knowledge and beautiful jewels. And you're going to think a new way. You're going to be a new way. You're going to see yourself in a new light. And when you're going through it, it's not comfortable. It's really, really uncomfortable. And there's moments that I got frustrated and I want to throw in the towel and say, nope, I don't want to do this. But then you get up and then you try again. So I make it sound easy, but there's always that hard part of it.
Well, it's why we don't do it. That's why we kind of stay busy, or that silence is avoided, like just to turn on some noise. Or that's really what got to people, why they started misbehaving in ways they weren't used to, that they normally would not, is because of the noise that's on the inside had no way to be distracted. And so what you have obviously done is remove some of that noise.
Yes. Noise that I did not need. I mean, the noise will always be there, but it's learning how to let's bring down the volume. And that's what Morris teaches you, that you could be in a room of 100 people, but learning to be silent. That's the nugget that I was fascinated with. I was like, wow, and it's practice and effort.
But it's an effort that is your change forever, and it empowers you. And there are no external conditions that are necessary for this. Like you said, I could be alone, I could be with 100 people, I could be experiencing radiant health, I could be experiencing some discontent in my well-being. It doesn't matter what it is, because these jewels are intangible. and they're in the mind, which is essentially me. So I really, the imposed solitude gave you the opportunity, like a gift. You were
It
given a gift,
was.
a
It
gift.
was. That forced pause that drama gave me was the drama's blessing. I was like, it's true. The drama really wants to take care of you. It's a blessing. It
I,
really does. If
I,
you let the drama take care of you, it will take care of you. And it was taking care of me. And here's the best of all. I wasn't working and I got permanently let go. And even that I was taken care of in every way. There was not, it was like, don't worry, we're going to take care of you. We're going to give you a scholarship to go to and it gave me that whole year where I didn't have to worry about anything. My bills were paid. I had food in my belly and all I had to do was just study.
wow. That's, people spend a lot of money going to retreats and going to empowering sessions to get what you was forced upon you. So your fortune is really pretty big, and it kind of inspires me. It makes me hopeful that you might not be the only person.
I hope not.
That there are others who also that have taken such a what the world might call a challenging situation and not just made it better, but completely inverted it. So you see how it's completely inverted. It's as it got rougher and rougher and tougher, but your experience got better and better and better.
Mm-hmm.
So how fortunate you are.
I am. I'm blessed. I wake up every day and I wake up every day that I hit the lottery, meaning the Brahma Kumaris.
I got it.
I want to be on the newspaper with $1 million check. Like I won the lottery.
It's
true. It's not everybody that comes to the knowledge doesn't get it. And then who gets it, it's like, I'm rich.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it just took that. See, that was the vehicle for you to do it. And then you didn't have to have there was no questions, there was no alternative. You were put there and you had no choice. Well, you could have not done anything, but I mean, you couldn't say, well, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I want to, but I have responsibilities in my career or whatever the reasons are, and they could be real reasons. All that was taken away.
Oh, Greg, honestly, it was like, boop. And then here we are. And I just, it's a blessing. And so what I want people to know is like when in the moment when things are taking away from you, situations, people, circumstances, it's a blessing in disguise. And we don't see it today, but we'll definitely see the blessings down the road. And that's where I'm at now, because when I started this process, I didn't see the blessings in the moment. And now I'm sitting here talking to you. I see it even more. And so trust the process, trust that that's taken away from you for a reason to better yourself. And don't attach to the old ways. It's okay to let go of the old way of thinking and embrace it. And you're going to be fine.
I believe everything you're saying. And it came to mind one of those memes that you see everywhere. It's not an obstacle, but an opportunity, which no one, you don't even want to hear that anymore because it seems trite, but you truly have had the experience of an obstacle becoming an opportunity. And what you could, no matter what happens to you, you can always say you took advantage of that opportunity.
And the drama took care of everything. Like I went back to school and it gave me a scholarship.
Oh.
And I wouldn't have it any. And it's true. It's true when in our studies, it tells us in our studies that the drama wants to take care of you. Let it take care of you. It's going to take care of the way it needs to take care of you. Not the way you want it, but the way it needs to take care of you.
Thank you for that.
That's something that I understand. That's my understanding when we are of our studies. And
you know what? Say that again, please. It's worth hearing again.
I say that the drama is going to, if you let the drama take care of you, it will take care of you. Not the way we want it, not the way we see it, but it will take care of you the way it needs to take care of you. And that means, unfortunately, sometimes things that no longer serve you have to be removed to clear the path for you to. So that's the blessing of solitude. Solitude, accept it, embrace it, welcome it. I'm already asking the drama, can I go another solitude, another year of solitude at home?
Yeah, it's wonderful. And that, that's a perfect place for us to close, because that's really the line that it will take care of you. And so that's a lot about trust. So maybe I'll try to just take in the best of my ability what you've shared with us today. And I'll give like a 2 or 3 minute commentary, a little meditation, just reflecting upon that. So let's start off with just sitting comfortably, like in a position that you can stay in for the whole time without having to move around or pay attention to the body. And let's take about 3 deep breaths, connecting the outer world to my inner world. And already I'm aware of a dramatic difference in my consciousness as I give myself the opportunity to slow down. A chance to be in solitude, which really means a chance to have a relationship with myself. Solitude is not being alone. It's a chance to have a successful relationship with the most important being of all, myself. And as I begin to experience the joy of that, just by focusing my thought on that, so many other thoughts are just let go of. They don't even enter. Like cars passing on the street, thoughts going this way and that, but they're not part of me. I'm not even aware of them. This whole idea of solitude and the quarantine makes me appreciate the word trust. Trust in what's going to happen to me, for me, with me, by me. I've learned from this experience that the drama will always provide for me exactly what I need, exactly when I need it. All I have to do is trust and be attentive. And being attentive is one of the joys of experiencing solitude. A chance to see, to discern, to choose what works for me best. No person, thing, or event can keep that from me, which the universe has in store for me now. I'm receiving. I'm receiving. I'm receiving right now. I go forward into the rest of my day with those thoughts embedded in my consciousness. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Well, I'm sure you've heard it many times, but joy, it was a joy.
Thank you, Greg. It was wonderful to be here.
It's a
Thank
pleasure to meet you, and thank you so much for bringing your fresh, bright light into our family.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you.
See you again.
See you.